lot of cities and towns in South Carolina are still dealing with coronavirus, including the city of Georgetown. I speak exclusively with Georgetown Mayor Brendon Barber Sr. for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Mayor Brendon Barber Sr., welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Well, good to be with you, Quintin, and I hope you're healthy. I hope you're safe, and may God continue to bless you and keep you that way.
Well, thank you greatly. Same to you. I know obviously all of the cities and counties around South Carolina are really dealing with coronavirus right now. And as a matter of fact, the city of Georgetown announced that the 4th of July fireworks celebration will be canceled this year to minimize the COVID-19 cases. Mayor, let me ask you this. How many probable cases are in the city of Georgetown, and how many of there are confirmed cases right now?
Well, with the reporting being done with from the Department of DHEC and also other reporting agencies, overall, they report by what we call our zip codes. So therefore, to really pinpoint the city, it's hard to really pinpoint where in the city, because we're in the 29440 zip code, and that also includes other parts of the county. Sure. But overall, if you look at from last week, we've had anywhere from a 74.5 to almost a 89.5 increase in cases. And if you go to the DHEC data that's within the Georgetown County area, and you look at the 29440 zip code, right, there are approximately 74 cases that have been reported within that zip code. But then when you look at the estimated cases, that's within the 1200s, which would be 1,200. That's estimated, because what they're saying is that within a certain amount of the population, there's always an estimate non-reported cases that they, through their formula, they look at and say, these are the cases that should be reported or should be a population that could be affected. So it's the new normal, it's the new unknown. And as we move forward, we had to, we just had to cancel the fireworks because we cannot control social distancing and those that wear a mask and not wear a mask, the washing of hands. And if you look up and down the coast, I believe Charleston has canceled their fireworks, if I'm positive there. Myrtle Beach has done the same. Merle's Inlet with the Marsh Walk. So what we're trying to do is make sure that at least we do our part as far as trying to minimize the spread. Because even within our city, this thing is scary. It's close to home, because we even have employees that we've, I can mention employees in general, not departments or names, but we've had employees that have been impacted by COVID-19 where they're in isolation, and even the county is sharing that they have had employees that they have to maintain, along with restaurants and other businesses, not only in the city, but also throughout the county. So, Quintin, this thing is, we're trying to do the best we can to eliminate the spread. And, like I said previously, one case of COVID-19 or one life is one too many. And we just can't, I couldn't live with it personally, knowing that we didn't do all we could to stop the spread.
And Mayor, how many cases are African American in Georgetown?
Well, see, that's the other thing. They're not sharing those numbers with us, so we do not know by whether whether it's race, gender, or what have you. We have no way of obtaining that information now, because you're still dealing with the Privacy Act through our health organizations, and you just can't get that type of information. It might be available, but we're not allowed publicly to as far as I know, to get it and to release it. But it's impacting the African American community, and the reason being because we as African Americans, particularly in some of our communities, we don't have all the resources that we need to help us guard against and also prevent some of the spread of the virus because of resources and also lack of health care and what have you, and the ability, even though there's free testing going on, a lot of things come into play. Transportation, not being able to get people where they need to, and also, the fear and the anxiety of not going to get tested because of the impact of once you have it, the resources might not be there in order to help you recover.
And let me ask you this. You obviously you talk about those cases and you talk about the free testing, and now the noise is going away. But how many people have been tested so far in the city of Georgetown, as far as you know?
Well, I know that we've had a lot of free testing going on, and those tests have been quite successful. I know one testing site and just to give you an example, at one testing site, we had over 400 people tested in 2 days.
Wow.
All right. So if you look at that compared to the other test sites around the county, and let's say on average, there are probably about, within our community, there are over through our nonprofit organizations, our healthcare providers and all that, there are over 10 testing sites. So you can multiply that by, let's say 400, right, and you come up with that amount of people being tested. So, the testing's there, but the ability to get folks who really need to get tested to those sites, that's a restriction that we're somehow trying to find out how we can get people to those sites to be tested. And like I said, it's the fear of folks not wanting to go get tested.
Exactly right. And, obviously you talk about those businesses. I love Front Street in Georgetown.
Right.
Well, how is business there? Because businesses here on King Street, where I am in Charleston, are slowly coming back to normal.
Right. Well, businesses on Front Street, and not only Front Street, businesses throughout Georgetown area, I mean, things are beginning to pick up. Our greatest fear, along with other municipalities, is that people don't realize this is not a second wave. We're still within our first wave, but all that's going on right now is that we're seeing spikes. And with South Carolina being one of the top states throughout the United States, being involved in the increasing, COVID-19 folks being infected, we're a red state now when it comes to where we are with the number of cases. So when you look at businesses locally, the biggest fear is that even though they're starting to gain some ground as far as revenue, the biggest fear is that they get into a situation where you have employees who are infected with COVID-19 and then they have to close, right, just to try to recover again. But what happens when you have businesses where employees are infected and they have to close? What's going to be the impact when you reopen as far as your customers wanting to come back? So, there are a lot of unknowns, Quintin.
Yes, sir. And I know I was watching your Facebook Live message on May 1st, and you basically said, hey, the city is losing a lot of revenue due to COVID. From April 16 to now, Mayor, how much has the city lost in total?
Well, our revenues really is down probably about 62%. And, we were very progressive, and starting in mid-March when everything began to close down, as far as not spending on non-essentials within the city's budget. And also we cut the city's budget by 1.8 million. And, the thing that we have to do as a municipality here in Georgetown is to provide service. And the only way we can provide service is to keep our employees working and not go to furloughs or layoffs or reduction in hours. But those are your three options. and a lot of municipalities had to lay off employees. We do not want to get to that point. And in looking at our budget, we're projecting on out 6 months ahead. Where are we going to be? Will that reduction in revenue, let's say in August, September, or October, will that reduction in revenue even go lower? Would we have a 70 or 75% reduction in revenue based on the revenues that we know that could come in? But what we have to do is we just have to be vigilant, and we have to be do our fiduciary responsibility to the budget, to this pandemic, to make sure that we can serve our citizens the best way we can, and to keep our employees employed, because we are municipalities. If we stop functioning, we're that thin line between order and disorder.
And I know that obviously with the COVID situation affecting the local economy so badly, how has it affected sales tax revenues that the city needs as far as funding projects?
Well, it has. We had to suspend. We canceled our bill on our new city hall, and the
Right.
reason we canceled that because it's the unknown within the next 24 months where we're going to be, how viable we're going to be as a municipality. And like I said, we have to stay operational so that we can serve our citizens. So we've canceled some projects. We're be very vigilant of the budget and our finances. And the big thing is to keep employees working, because you have to realize those employees have families, and it impacts the entire city when your employees are not secure financially, and also the well-being from them from a mental health standpoint, a health standpoint, and a financial standpoint.
And if I'm correct, I thought I heard that your sister was impacted by COVID-19.
Yeah, my sister was impacted by COVID-19, and of course, even though she's retired from higher education, she was very active. She was the past 16th national president for Jack and Jill of America, and then she's also on the international and board of airport commissioners, and also she's on the airport commission of the Savannah Hilton Head International, Airport Commission. But when you look at all of her activities, I'm pretty sure she picked it up somewhere, because she's been abroad and back, but she's recovered. And we thank everybody for the prayers and everything that we received from our community and those who kept her up and lifted her up in prayer. So, that was personal for me. And it's also personal because I have friends now and folks that I know that are impacted by COVID-19. So that's why it's a big push to see what we can do as a city to help eliminate and make sure we don't spread it or minimize the spread as much as we can.
And a lot of people are getting tired of staying indoors during the quarantine, and they want to get out. And a lot of people want to travel, and they want to come to Georgetown. What do you say to those people right now?
Well, we ask that if you come to Georgetown, please wear your mask, be aware of social distancing, wash your hands, keep your hands out of your face, and be respectful not only to yourself, but to others.
Mayor Brendon Barber Sr., thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Man, look here, you call me anytime. All right.
I'll be back to Georgetown soon.
May God bless you, continue to bless you. Will you stay safe, stay healthy, and remind those that, with all the procedures that we put in place to protect us from a health standpoint, that not only we have to do what's possible that we can do as fellow Americans, fellow South Carolinians, but let's uplift us. Let's make sure we uplift one another, and let's take care of one another. Let's do this through love. Let's change our hearts. And also let's continue to pray, and may God lift us up all and bless you and Charleston along with the rest of South Carolina.
Amen. And one question, Mayor, you said change your heart. When you look at the civil unrest around the country, where is your heart right now?
My heart is that how can we as if we are God's children, then it's our duty to change our hearts so that we can, every law that's on the book, every policy that's about to be changed, every action of racial or racism, violence, or hatred that's going on, it's up to us to make sure that we not only talk about it, stand up about it, but we have to change hearts to make sure that we can make sure that we move the needle to rectify and condemn any form of racism, hatred, violence, or brutality toward human beings, you know, particularly what's happening in the African American community, along with, I've seen discord across this entire country. And as an African American, sure, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm fearful because, you know, we have 3 sons, a daughter, we have, you know, 7 grandchildren, and we have to be mindful, but we also have to start changing hearts, and that starts with me, how I treat people. So God bless you, brother.
You too, and I'll see you up in Georgetown soon.
Okay, please.
Yes,
okay.
Sir. Oh, yes.
All right.